Winners get to write the history book. In the last 3 seasons, Georgia has gotten to write their name down as the winner of the SEC East. They're only the 4th program in the history of the SEC to win a division 3 straight years since the conference split into divisions back in 1992. But if history tells us anything, it's that winning for a 4th straight time is actually a pretty difficult task. Georgia is aiming to be only the 2nd team in the history of the conference to win 4 straight division titles. Florida did the streak from 92 to 96, but other than that, it hasn't been done. Nick Saban couldn't do it, Gene Stallings couldn't do it, Urban Meyer couldn't do it, and Philip Fulmer couldn't do it. The long list of great coaches that have come through the SEC, but only Steve Spurrier has done what Kirby Smart will be attempting to do next season. So if we look ahead to the 2020 season, who's the team that's most likely to dethrone Georgia? The answer is probably the Florida Gators, given that they expected to be a top 10 team. There's already a lot of hype building around this Gators team, with some of the national media even going outright and saying that Florida should be ranked ahead of Georgia. Now, people will be quick to retort that Florida does bring back quarterback Kyle Trask. But is Kyle Trask really enough to merit putting a Florida team ahead of Georgia? I don't think so. Florida has to replace their leading rusher, 4 of their top 6 pass catchers, and their best defensive playmakers, such as guys like Jonathan Grenard and C.J. Henderson. It is fair here to mention that Georgia does have to replace most of its key pieces on the offensive side of the ball. While bringing in Todd Monken to be the offensive coordinator and Jamie Newman to probably be the quarterback are interesting options, there's nothing guaranteed about what Georgia's offense will look like next year. But it's safe to say that Georgia's still going to have an elite defense given all that they bring back. Count Eric Stokes, Nolan Smith, Trayvon Walker, Monty Rice, Nakobe Dean. I could probably name highly recruited backups that would likely start for Florida next year, but you clearly already get the point. Look, media members are going to want to try and sound smart. They're going to present themselves like they know more than the common fan does. That's why you're going to see people saying that Florida should be the SEC East favorite next year and ranked ahead of Georgia. But there are people out there that think Shape of Water was the best picture over films like Get Out and Lady Bird, which are far superior and far more rewatchable and have nothing to do with fish. History tells us that there is a decent chance that Florida wins the SEC East this year. But if we also want to use history as a barometer, Dan Mullen hasn't beaten Kirby Smart since he was the offensive coordinator at Florida back in 2008, and Smart was in his first year as the defensive coordinator at Alabama. You can use history and numbers and facts and figures to say whatever you want about this Georgia-Florida SEC East whole thing. But the reality is, the last 3 times Georgia has played Florida, they've won. The last 3 times Smart and Mullen have met as head coaches, Smart has won. The last 3 recruiting classes, Georgia has recruited at a better clip than Florida has. Florida might be very good this season, and history isn't on Georgia's side. But history also would have told us that the Americans had no chance of beating the Soviets in 1980, that Eli Manning didn't stand a chance against the unbeaten Patriots, or that Parasite shouldn't have won Best Picture this year as a foreign language film. History is meant to be broken, just like rules and records. That's why Georgia has still a very, very good chance of winning the SEC East for a 4th year in a row, becoming only the 2nd program in the history of the SEC to do so. People love to bring up what Kirby Smart hasn't accomplished yet, whether it be a national title or beating Alabama. But if he's able to win a 4th SEC East title in only his 5th year as a head coach, that's a pretty darn impressive historical feat, and one that's not going to be matched anytime soon. For Dog Nation, I'm Connor Riley.
For more Dog Nation videos, check out youtube.com/DogNation.